Good evening, everybody. I'll also give access to the Good evening, everybody. So today's our session is on export process of agriculture goods. Before going to start the sessions, my voice is audible. My voice is audible. You can put it in chat box. My voice is audible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So importance of today's sessions. Because I have worked with many companies and many products, many project companies. But one of the challenging part of the export is that is agriculture exports. Because agriculture export involves perishable goods. If you want to export the cargo to the Dubai, minimum vessel transit time is around. Yes, just a minute. Yes. Datta sir, you are now co-host. Minimum, welcome Datta sir.
Yes, good evening everybody.
Good evening. So minimum time to even perishable, if you want to export to perishable cargo to the Dubai, minimum transit time is 3 days. And if you want to ship within 3 days and cargo is perishable or vegetables, then cargo may affect or it may damage. So it is very important to understand what is the agriculture export process. So before going to start, I will like to introduce myself and my speaker. Namaste, my name is Vinayak Tengiri, founder 24 Mile. We have developed a system where all export-import process is automated, and plus this is a national 24 Mile got recognition on national level on 15 January 2022 with the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Ji Modi. And we conduct these types of knowledge sessions so that our vision is to make export rich India. So we conduct these types of sessions. Also, we conduct the coachings on export and import so that many will get benefited and they will start their own exports. So again, I welcome our today's speaker, Datta Shinde. And interesting part is we met in last month on 21st March. In Dubai Logics 2022, where we met, and he's also from Nashik, and his office is in Mumbai, and he's into agriculture export. Agriculture is very complicated, so I at the time I requested him, please, we want to conduct your sessions because all our student participants, they wanted to know the what is the agriculture process, actually what happens, and also we want to visit to the Mumbai, so we want to see the actual process. So I'll introduce Datta Shinde. Dattaji Shinde, he's a founder and director of Global Express Multi Logistic Private Limited, which is established in 2000. He's into custom broker services, air freight, sea freight, consolidation and custom services, transportation, clearance. His organization having more than 130 staff strength, having offices in 18 locations in India. They are specialized in perishable shipment, handling grapes, mangoes, tomatoes, onions, potatoes, beetroot, mixed vegetables. He also handles agro products such as maize, soya seeds, rice, sugar, etc. We also cater services to industrial customers for handling export-import shipments. They're having a client base like a Cosmo Film, Nobel Hygiene, Thermolake, Sahyadri Farm, PS Agro, Grape Master. So these are the many clients they are having. Also, their achievement is he is the best custom brokers in India to be awarded as a AEO first AEO certifications. He is also affiliated member of BCBA, Bombay Custom Brokers Associations. Also chairman of Federation of Freight Forwarders Association in India, Chennai Custom House Agents Association. Also affiliated with Institute of Freight Forwarders. Also Nashik Custom House Agents Associations. Also Chamber of Commerce, Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Agriculture. So welcome Dattaji again. And we are also, I'm also having many questions about the exports, and at the end of the sessions, we will all ask the questions about the agriculture export process. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinayak ji, and good evening, and welcome everyone to this knowledge session on how we can grow on perishable exports, or maybe any general exports as well. So Vinayak ji has already introduced myself. Sir, I'm audible, no?
Yeah, you are audible. And
okay. So Vinayak ji is already introduced, and we are already handling a couple of import-export shipments worldwide. So to very categorically just focus on this perishable trade now over here. So what language is comfortable with the participants?
English is comfortable.
English is comfortable, no? That's
yes.
Good. Okay. So basically, when we handle these perishable shipments are like a small child, you need to really take utmost care as to when you handle the shipments, and slight deviations from these operation modules or handling modules can land you into a huge cost over here. So there's nothing to be scared about it. But when we are aware of all the operations, or maybe the cost part or anything, so we take good control of it, that way. This is why we have to know in detail about when we start doing reefer businesses, perishable businesses, or in agro products. So normally, when say for a particular commodity, when you want to deal with, say maybe it is fresh fruits or fresh vegetables, or any sort of frozen items. Also, there are a lot of buffalo meats and fish products, and all these fishery items also being exported. So depending on the cargo, depending on the nature of the cargo, depending on the shell life of the cargoes, the cargo gets transported into a container, and then to be decided on the shell life of the cargoes as well. So to just brief you as to how it should be prepared is, just excuse me for a moment. I have a call from Navashua Port, please.
Okay, sir. Okay. Meanwhile, if you are having any questions related to agriculture export clearance, you can put it in chat box. At the end of the session, we'll take all your questions. Is that okay? Do you have any specific in your mind? You can put it in chat box. As he explained, there are a lot of even vegetables, fruits, grapes, mango. Mango is also very little bit complicated process because mango requires a lot of custom clearance and other activity. So if you have any questions, you can put it also chat box.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We have some problems on the ports also with related to these reefer containers, and that's why we had to.
Sir, it is also part of. It is also you please explain, sir. It is also part of the export clearance.
Correct.
So now, because being a logistic person or custom clearance person, we have to work 24 hours. Yes. So it is also one of the process, or that acceptance has to be there. So you can share that also.
Okay, so this was one of the problem where we had a cream shipment. It's the ice cream shipment, and it's in a reefer container. And where a shipper he had, there are basically the new regulations which has come in. The clearances require central FSSAI license and the state FSSAI licenses as well. So shipper has his license had been expired, and then the challenges are that to get it managed with the customs and then get it custom cleared and all of that. So yeah, so I just got it sorted out.
Practical things. Please understand, this is a practical thing, and we have to give the practical answer. Otherwise, shipment will get stuck.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Just one more again. There's a
you can take the call, because that is also important things. Friends, please understand, when we do the exports, so we have to face these types of situation, or we have to respond. As I always tell you, if you want to be logistic, you have to be prompt action taker. You have to respond fast. You have to take the actions fast, otherwise you can't do the export and import. So as I ask you, do you have any questions? Please put it in. Start responding fast and start responding fast, and please put your answers. So this is a skills required to be into export and import business. Okay, can you please allow me video to start? Okay, onion export based countries. Okay, Rohanji, right now we are focusing on the export clearance part. So please understand, you can ask on the what is the export clearance process for the onion. We'll cover in next sessions about the marketing part. Okay, you can carry on.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I'm really sorry for this.
It's okay.
And okay, so now to start with, suppose if you take a commodity called onions. Normally there are huge quantity of onions moving out from India to various parts of Middle East and even Far East also. And normally what happens is these reefer units, the reefer container is designed with a machinery which allows you to maintain the temperature as to what the cargo demands over here. Say, for example, if an onion container, normally the set temperature of the container is 0 degrees centigrade. Okay, so what happens over here is now how various issues or various learning will happen to you as well. When an onions is being harvested or when the onions are being stuffed into the container, they are at a temperature, at a normal temperature, maybe 35 to 40 degrees also. What the exporters normally do is they do not pre-cool these cargoes over here. They straight away take the cargoes from the warehouse, open warehouses, and they straight away stuff into the containers over here. In these scenarios, what happens is, so you are setting the container at 0 degrees centigrade and your cargo temperature is maybe 35 to 40 degrees. So when the cargo is inside the container, these containers are not pre-cooling units. They are just merely a reefer container which maintains the temperature. Okay, so if you have stuffed this cargo inside that container, the container or the machineries have to apply huge pressures to the mechanism inside over here, and due to this there are equipment failures or there are malfunctions to the containers, and then there are maybe when the container is on the route to the port or on the vessel, or sometimes the equipment completely comes off and stops working, and maybe you have to have replacements or spares or whatever the relevant damages have been done. So the ideal way to actually use reefer containers or handle perishable shipment is you have to first pre-cool the cargoes. Okay, you have to put it into the pre-cool chambers. You have to come to the set temperature. Your cargo has to stay over there for 8 to 10 hours of duration. When the temperature arrives at a set point over there, and then it is being moved to another cold store. Okay, after the pre-cooling, it comes to the cold store chamber. From the cold store, when your cargo is ready, when the vessel is ready, these cargoes are again then crossed into the containers over here, and then container stuffing and all these custom clearances procedures and all this happens over here simultaneously. So there are basic guidelines how you need to take care of these reefer containers. Is firstly, when you are preparing for your shipment, you should know what sort of temperature your cargo demands. If your cargo is, say, for bananas generally travels at 13.5 degrees. If your cargo is grapes, they travel at 0 degrees. If your cargo is mixed vegetables, they travel at 8 degrees, 7 degrees. So depending on the natures of the cargo, you have to understand what your cargo requires as a set temperature on the container. If your cargo is frozen cargoes, they require minus 18 degrees. Or depending again on what natures you want commodity to deal with. So very importantly is to first understand that what is the set temperature required for our products to be transported from one destination to another destination. Yeah, so this is one first very aspects you should know when you're handling a perishable shipment. Second thing is the air ventilation, what is required inside the container. Containers are equipped with the ventilation settings where you need to these are again some guidelines, and there are ready written manuals as well, where it is available on our websites also, and it is available with our operations teams also. For example, if any of the exporters do not know as to what my cargo is required on a set temperature or a ventilation part or a humidity part, we also guide them over here. So you should know what your cargo is to be set at what temperature. You should know what ventilation settings are required on your container, and you should know how much of the humidity control to be done with your container over here. So these are basic three requirements what is required when you're actually putting your cargo inside the container. The other part of the guidelines or the manuals what designs is, you should know how the volume of the cargoes in a 20-foot is required, or a volume what 40-foot containers can carry. If your cargo is, say, maybe a volume cargo, then now if there are certain cargoes which are good in weight and small in volume, or there are certain which are small in volume and big in weight, that way. So normally a reefer container has the capacity of handling 65 cubic meter of cargo, and they can carry out to 28 to 29 tons of weight over here. So whichever is suitable as per the cargo requirements. So you should understand the volume and weight of the cargo. You should know the stuffing patterns, how these cargoes are actually to be stuffed. When you are stuffing these cargoes inside the container, you cannot leave an empty space between the packages, because the air ventilation then affects your cargo over here. There are documentation as well. There is a reefer manifest which has to be submitted to the carriers when we are shipping this container. There is suppose if you are transporting this container, say maybe you are stuffing this container in Pune. So when the container is picked up from the empty depot, we supply container trailers equipped with gensets mounted trailers. There are gensets fitted on the containers. So when you stuff the containers, until you have pre-cool your cargo, they are on power with the cold storages. Once the cargo is on the truck over here, we have gensets which is equipped on the trailers. These gensets are put on. When the transport is moving from Pune to Nhava Sheva to the port, the gensets are 24/7 on and operated. And when you are unloading in the port itself, then there is a port electricity plugging monitoring and all these provisions over there. When the cargoes are being shipped on the vessel, there are power points on the vessels also. So that's how right from the stuffing point until the destination, the containers are completely on power over here. Okay, so normally sometimes we have these in mind, when the cargo is in temperature, and then how the temperatures are maintained, or how will it be taken care, or all these things are there in the mind when we are exporting our shipment. So these little things where you need to know is on the operation module, that we have to first understand the temperature, ventilation, humidity settings, the weight, volume of the shipments. Then we have to understand the documentation practices. We have to also understand whether the trailer containers which are picked up, whether they are in sound condition, whether they are in good working condition, whether some of the reefer units or some of the shipping lines, they generally allot containers which are very old, and then mechanism doesn't work or something that way. All these things are operational issues where your custom brokers or freight forwarders will keep guiding you on and on. So this is the preparation you have to do before the stuffing practice, before the stuffing or readiness of the cargo. During the stuffing, what you need to do is your cargo correctly pre-treated, whether they are packed properly, whether they are pre-cooled properly, and whether they are being transported to the set point over here. Now what happens is, when we transport containers to maybe Russia or all these European destinations, these containers are also, when you stuff the cargoes, there are a data loggers mechanism which is being fixed inside the containers, and they are actually recording the live temperature of your cargo during the transit, throughout the transit, right from the stuffing place up to the container when it is being offloaded at the consignee's door. So if, for example, when you see a fluctuation, it sends you messages. If your temperature is set at 0 degrees and you have a temperature shown on the data logger as maybe plus 3-4 degrees variation plus minus, you immediately get a signal or a message or on an email that this container is done on a high temperature, it is not maintaining the temperature. So you are alerted, you immediately call up the shipping line, or you call up your forwarder, or you call up your custom broker, and you can intimate them that there is something wrong happening on the container, so you need to take care as to what is happening or why. So these data loggers are useful in those manners. Now there are data loggers on the containers also as well. So container gives you a recording at every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on how it is set it up. And there is an additional partflow chart as well. Partflow chart is like, you all must have seen the compass where we used to do in geometry box. It's a pencil which is plugged in, and it goes round and round and round during the time frame, and it records the temperature. So there are two methods which generally these reefer containers are equipped with. You can find your temperature readings on a partflow chart as well, and you can also download your live data from the container data loggers as well. So this is one thing what we have to take care is during the stuffing, that whether a cargo was pre-cooled properly, whether a cargo was packed properly, whether a cargo is treated properly, and whether they are being transported at the set point. Second thing, we also have to ensure that we always use sound and clean containers, and set the required temperatures are according to our guidelines on. So one more thing, container unit, it is not container until it is not run with the rear door opens. If you normally, there is a tunnel, there are some cold storages which are equipped with they have generated a tunnel right from the cold store. The tunnel moves up to the container's door, so that the air loss is it doesn't take place. So if there is a temperature loss during stuffing also, in that period of time, maybe the stuffing takes 2 hours or something. So then there is a loss of temperature over there. When the doors are widely open and you are just putting your cargo inside, there is a hot air going inside the container. When there is a hot air going inside the containers, then there is the moisture which generates on the wall. These are also some of the reasons which damages your cargo over here. So all these things, little things which will give you an idea as to how safely you should stuff your containers, you should transport your containers. Cargo container flows and drains should stay free from derbies and all these things. These are now, for example, if you're transporting a food product to a particular destination, if there is a dirty container inside, if there is a stain inside, if there is a smell inside, all these things can get attached to your cargo, and maybe these food grains can then have these smells attached to it, or the smell attached to it, and then the food products, when it arrives at the destination, then it can causes rejection to the cargoes, and all these things can come into. So we should always ensure that our cargo container is clean, they are neat, they are without any stains, they are without any smell, they are without any odor inside. So because containers, when we are transporting worldwide, there are all sort of mixed cargoes coming in. There are chemicals also which come in. There are pharmaceuticals which are coming in. There are other sort of various products which are coming in, and then the odor stays or smell stays inside. So these are things which you should always take care. Cargo should never be stuffed above the red line. There is a red line which is designed inside the container on the top. So all your cargoes, or whatever number of packages or boxes or whatever pallets you put, they should not go above the red line point, which is high, which is inside the container. If that happens, there are chances of again damaging your cargoes over there. Cargo, then of course the weight part, the weight is very essential over here. If there are now various SOLAS regulation and verified gross mass, which is VGM also. So these are methods which have been implemented some months back over here to, as we see it, there are a lot of accidents which happens on the sea. It is purely because of misdeclaration of the weights part. So the containers, or if you see the door of the container, there is a capacity of the container being written. There is an gross weight of the container, there is the tare weight of the container. Gross weight is the total weight, including your container weight and your cargo weight. The tare weight is just the tare weight of the container, only the weight of the container. And there is a payload capacity of the container. So you cannot even stuff 1 gram or even anything above that, above the payload capacity. If that happens, and container is found inside the terminal or on the documentation aspect, there are huge fines and penalties being imposed by the carriers and by the regulatory authorities. So you suppose if you have 29 tons as the payload capacity and you have stuffed 29.50 kgs inside, you know, even for the 50 kgs, you will have to take that container back to your factory. You have to de-stuff that container back, and then again re-stuff that container and then send it to the port. And otherwise, you are not permitted to ship that container out. So these are some regulations which actually should be taken care while you are handling reefer containers. Other very important aspects is the documentation aspects. So on the documentation parts, what normally you have is when you are dealing with processed foods, you have the health clearances from the export inspection agencies. There are other inspection agencies as well. There is the radioactive certificates which are demanded by the consignees. Then there are health certificates which are demanded by the consignees. There are some legalization documents which are demanded. There are some certificate of origin certified by Chamber of Commerce which are being demanded. So depending on destination and depending on the consignee requirements, some of them go under LC shipments. So whatever documentation, there is phytosanitary certificate which is required. Phytosanitary certificate is required for all fresh produces. Say if you're exporting onions, you have to have a phyto certificate. If you're exporting grapes, if you're exporting tomatoes, if you are exporting any sort of fresh produces, if your phytosanitary certificate is enough. Now, in these, some of the commodities like maybe chili, you can call it. For chili, if you have to take a phyto certificate, you first have to take the sample of the shipment, maybe 1 kgs, 2 packets. Then there are prescribed labs which have been authorized to do all these testings. They are sent for the testings over there. After these testing reports are arrived, then these testing reports are submitted to the phytosanitary certificates, and only then the phyto is issued. Unless you have those testings done, they cannot issue this phytosanitary certificate. And if you don't have a phytosanitary certificate, your container gets stuck at the destination. They cannot clear the container over there. So phyto certificate is very, very important for fresh produces. For processed foods, along with the phyto certificate maybe, or you need a health certificate. Again, for health certificate, you have to register with the export inspection agency. Export inspection agency, if it's a manufacturer exporter, you have to submit your application to the department over there. They go to your plant, the plant verification happens over here. They grant you license to exports over there, and then at the time of the shipment, you have to submit your application for the health certificate. So these are controls basically, that these are food products. They are safe for human consumption, and the regulatory, has been designed that way to control these food products or whatever. So the other certificate is the radioactive certificate, which is issued by the BRIT, which is again a government department over here. Then there are other certifications like, the legalization processes, which again, depending on the consignee. Then there are certificate of origin, which certifies that these are Indian origin produces. So these are documentation aspects where you need to understand, or when you're handling this perishable shipments. And after all these documentations are in place, then your container, depending on custom clearances happen. They go to the port, they get loaded on the vessel, then the containers are arriving at the destination. This is the normal export process. So I think if you are aware of it, or otherwise, maybe on another session, we can cover it. But as to what reefer containers are concerned, I have given you most of the points where what should be taken care, what documentation aspects are required. Now, maybe on an opportunity when we see, we will make an attempt to show you some live stuffings or maybe a physical trip to the location site or something that we will discuss with Vinayak sir, and then we will line it up accordingly.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I have just given you the brief about how reefer containers are handled. Yeah.
Right. You are right, sir. Because it is very important part. Pre-cooling, as you told, then there is a cooling, and then we have to stuff into the container.
Yeah.
So we'll have a. If you want to, if you have any questions, you can put it in chat box.
Okay.
So we'll have a Q&A right now. So,
Absolutely.
so my first question is: suppose I want to send you this. Because there are some my exporters, they are sending the mix cargo, fresh cargo. So how
Okay.
to what is the ratio? What should be the ratio? And which cargo we can combine the cargo? Which cargo we can send it in one container? Suppose I
Uh,
send the turmeric powder and any other you can say samosa or that refrigerator cargo. So can we mix it? Which cargo can we mix up and send it by refrigerator cargo?
Ready to eat products will be at a different set point, and then these fresh produces like say onions or maybe tomatoes you can put together, maybe the other sort of vegetables, okra and all this, they can travel at the same in a mixed container. So,
Right.
but if you have something like what you said is anything which is maybe bananas now.
Right.
If you want to send bananas also with onions, but banana is at a different set temperature. It has a different humidity settings. It has a different ventilation setting.
Right.
And if you send bananas into it, so bananas will not stay sound. And again now over here, see now grapes has got a shell life of 60 days. Banana is just got a shell life of 20 days. So if
Right.
if you think about exporting bananas to Europe transit time is to direct vessels to direct port. They are at 20 to 23 days. So, but and again the harvesting time, the harvesting time is maybe 3-4 days at the farms, the 1 day storage, 2 days to travel to the 2 days for the container to travel to the port or the custom clearances. So 6-7 days are lost here. Again, 21-22 days is a transit time. Again, then 2-3 days is a custom clearance time frame. And therefore, bananas cannot go to Europe by default. If you have to send even mangoes for that matter, if you want to send mango container into Dubai, you can send it to Dubai and we still cannot guarantee because mango has got a very small shell life. And
Right.
Normally mangoes then are exported by air over here. So
Right.
depending on the cargo nature, you have to decide as to what country you can carry, what temperature you want to carry, and say you can mix the cargoes subject to these commodities have the similar characteristics over here.
So my question is regarding mango exports. We have to export, as you told, ki mango we have to export by air only. So
Yeah.
what is the mango export process? As you told, what is the pre-cooling, cooling, and I think there is a special process for the mango. So what is that process? Will you please explain?
For mangoes now, there is a process called irradiation treatment over here now.
Yeah.
And there are only few cold storages which has been assigned to do all these jobs over there. So there is a hot water treatment where mangoes are left into that hot water for killing of all these germs and all that.
Yeah.
And then only after that irradiation treatment process is completed, mangoes can be packed and then be exported. So these are basically suppose contaminations can happen at farms also, and particularly mangoes go in large quantities to Europe, US, and all these destinations. And we know these Americans, they are very particular about their health hygienics, and they do not compromise for even a percentage, 0.1% as to consume anything which is rotten or which is bad in quality or which is not good in quality. So therefore these regulations, because ultimately when the cargoes go and they are rejected over there due to quality, it is the bad name for government of India as well. APEDA is the governing body, it is the controlling body, and then these emails from their embassies, their consulates, they come and straight away fall into our government over here, and then these are bad names coming, and then again then they have to start controlling as to you cannot export this, you cannot export this, then those things starts happening. So I'll tell you a case study where in 2010 we had a huge number of exports into Europe, maybe around maybe 9,000 containers of grapes into Europe, and out of that. As the season progressed, there was a circular which was sent by the European government to government of India, and they had designed some prescribed some testings for the grape shipments. So these grape shipments had 29, 30 parameters, the testing different levels and all that. So out of them, APEDA just missed out to inform the trade over here, and in the meantime, the containers were already shipped and the containers landed over there. But when containers landed, all these approximate around 1,500 containers got rejected over there. And when the containers got rejected, they were either asked to destroy that container. Destruction of containers at the destinations or any country will cost you not less than 45 to 50 lakhs per container. So that's the cost of a destruction of a reefer container, because there are a number of permissions and processes, and it's not like in India that you just go and throw it out on the roadside somewhere or just dump it. Even India has those processes now, but approximate destruction cost of a container, if a container is not released by the consignee, if it is rejected for quality issues, it is 35, 40, 50 lakhs. And then if the container stays in the port, if say there is a negotiation going on with the consignee, if the container is in the port, it is on power, or it is accumulating the ground rent, there is a monitoring charges, there is a plugging charges, there is again the all these local charges. So these will start adding to the cost if you don't take your decisions at so prompt level. So after that, we have to really be careful if there is a small issue on the container. So all these containers were either given free of cost to the buyers. So our exporters had no other options. If you don't compromise with them, then they had to pay huge cost, or sometimes went into destruction also. So these scenarios may arise, when these sort of rejections or destruction arises over there. Yeah.
Next question to you. How do you, as you told, there is a pre-cooling process, and then when we, while stopping the container again, we have to send some cool air to that, so that temperature will be maintained. Then again, there is a generator is there when during the traveling. Then when we stop into put it into the that port, there is again plug-in. Then when we again loading on the vessel, then again there is a electric power plugging. Okay, so how do you suppose in case anybody misses in their supply chain, any vessel owner or vessel operator or any CFS owner or somebody miss that plugging activity, then cargo may get damaged. So how do you control that? Is there any case happens somebody has done the mistakes and then cargo temperature has gone down and it was damaged? Is there any case happens?
A lot of case studies do come across, and then normally what happens is, I'll tell you, our logistics itself is such an unorganized sector, and you will have these operations issues daily in and out. Suppose, for example, if I'm transporting a container from here to Pune, and my transport cost for a transportation container is maybe 30,000 rupees, but here what happens is, if a shipper says no, the transportation or maybe the logistics cost or the freight, which is very high, and it does not permit me to get into the exports, and I'm not able to match the prices, all these things are arising. So here the competition tells you that he will start negotiating with the transporter. Maybe he will say, give it to me at 25,000 rupees. Now what happens is, over here we are actually calculating cost basis our consumptions, basis our road trips kilometers, and therefore we arrive at a price for a reefer container. But if he says, you transport me this container at 25,000, now if I have to ply that transport at 25,000, I will in turn tell my driver over here, or the guy who's handling the transport over here, if he requires a diesel for a genset, for road, he will have to travel. For road, there is no other option, because if he finishes with the fuel, he will stop in the middle. So for the trailer, there are these diesels also work on gensets. The gensets also work on diesels over here, you know. So if I tell him ki nahi, for this trip you'll get only, because I have to match this price. And now this scenario here happens is if he takes that undercoat price over here, and if he says that I cannot completely run the gensets for this trip from Pune to Nhava Sheva, what he will try and do is he will start putting the gensets on off. He will run it for 1 hour, he will put it off for 1 hour. So now what happens is, by just the small negotiations over here, we are actually playing with the price of this commodity. Maybe I mean the
commodity.
Yeah, we are playing with them. So then these drivers play musical, you know. Now we know that the temperature outside is 20 degrees today over here, but that doesn't mean that container temperature inside also may remain same. It may vary. If the pre-cooling has been done nice, and then if they transport it there, the temperature is pleasant, cool, then they start putting it off, then they run it for some time, maybe 50-100 kilometers, they will run without a genset on, and then again they stop and then again put it on. So they play musical over there, and that's how they cover up the cost. So these are instances where we experience every day in and out with all these transport modules. Again, on the port, there is no chances, you know. As soon as the container enters into the port, it's a system derived process where your container is allotted with the unloading position over there with the row, bay, everything, and the container automatically goes over there. The cranes, port cranes will come and there offload the container. There are reefer technicians over there. He will plugging the container, or same thing when they are loading it on the vessel. There may be an half an hour, 1 hour gap, because once you unplug from the port side and it goes, then there is a movement, you know, the feeding movement which happens. So for that time it may be unplugged. But normally there are other cases where we can have damages is, as I told you, which I give you an example of onions where they are hot stuffed inside the container. Without pre-cooling, these containers were stuffed, and in these cases, container gets damages. Cargoes don't arrive in good conditions. They may be experiencing damages to the cargoes. Even in other produces, like where you have to compulsory for say now we are handling grapes for the moment. So grapes also, when the exporter knows that today is my vessel cut off and he has just harvested the cargo yesterday, and he has to stuff that container and move to catch this vessel, what he will try and do is just 2-3 hours of pre-cooling, put it into the container. So in this cases, what happens is he's not pre-cooled the cargo to the required time frame what is actually required. So in these scenarios, also the cargoes, you know, happen to have damages over there. So there are this frequencies also very.
So it is in short, it is a manually control. So there is
Yes.
no that's a system. So we have to control,
Yes.
and it will be job
Yes.
of us being
Yeah.
a CHA. So
Yeah.
you have to check all the time whether they have activated whether it is active or not, that power is on or not.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you might have to connect with the good shipper who is having a system. You cannot give any container to anybody who is
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
Next question is to you. As we all know, European standards are very strict about our pesticides part. So, what are the countries which can accept our agriculture foods, fresh vegetable, without any restriction or without any? What are that countries, so that we can at least target to that country and we can export as it is cargo?
The Middle East is the safe country to be exported if you want some small parameters and low parameters. In Dubai or maybe Bahrain, Muscat, Amman, a lot of Indian fruits, vegetables move in. And if you want to go to the European side or Australia side or New Zealand side or American side, there are strict controls, and without those controls, compliance, you cannot export it.
Okay. So suppose I'm a farmer and I'm having a onion of 5 acres. So being a small farmer, how can I export? And I'm only doing this farming in a year, once in a year. So how
Okay.
can I get connected with the buyers, and can I become a exporter? Suppose I'm a small farmer having a five acres of onion. Just I'm giving the
Okay.
onion example because it is very common to all. And
Uh-huh.
many have asked me the questions. I am having onion and I want to export. So what do you suggest to them? They have to contact to the agents, or they have to connect to the, because that market is also very volatile about the onion, as all you know. So being
See,
a small farmer, I am having a 4 to 5 acres of farm. So how, whatever I am producing grapes, or I am producing vegetables, and I want to start my export. I want to. So what small farmer has to do?
the perishable is, we've been handling perishable since last more than 25 years now. And my experience tells me, if you are doing business in the Middle East countries, the best way to do is to establish your own office over there and
Okay.
then do business. If you are doing businesses through maybe an
Agent.
agency over there, you will be ruined, you will be looted, and you will have nothing left.
Right, right.
Because that's the history of our Indian exporters for onions. I mean, huge money has been lost in the Middle East market, and it's purely because uh, it's this Dubai market is so close. I mean, they will know that how many containers are being loaded on today's ship from here, and what's going to be the arrival of number of containers in the Dubai market, and what's going to be the rate. Immediately in half an hour, everybody is aware as to what's going to be the rate for Dubai onions, for all the exporters who are exporting over there. So and plus these people work on commission basis. If you go through the
Right, right.
agency network, they will say, maybe if you have a container, what they will do is, here is, say if your invoice is say $10,000 over here, your invoice. Now, if you don't have your own office, your own people in Dubai, as soon as the container lands over there, first thing they will just tell you is, from 29 metric tons of your onions, you have 5 tons which is completely damaged. Okay.
Right,
Now, again, there is loss of weight over there, which reduces your, again, invoice value.
right,
Again, what they will give you is the local cost over there, releasing the containers from the port, custom clearances, transporting it to the warehouse, everything, all cost will be debited from your invoice value, plus their agency commissions. Plus, if you do not know the price, what's
right.
the running, they will play on the price also, and then they will remit you these payments. If they are remitting even those payments timely and in genuinely, that is still okay. But there are so many payments which are still not coming from Dubai, and people are stuck up with all their payments in Dubai. It's not to be scary, but it's the ethic that we should connect to right people and do business with right people and right companies and organization over there, or handle it through our own offices, established offices in these countries, and then do businesses. That is the safest way to do businesses for perishable.
So Middle East, in Middle East, Dubai and Bahrain, it is our, as it is vegetable is accepted.
Yes.
You do not require
Yeah.
special pesticides part. So okay. So what do you suggest to the fresher, because we are also having some pressures. What do you,
Mhm.
you want to start the agriculture export? In agriculture also there is a lot of, we can say, there is a represent which cargo, samosa, that batate vada, that is also
Ready to eat.
ready to eat foods is there. What is your suggestion? They have to enter into fresh, or also there is also commodity also, rice is there.
Yeah.
A lot of products are there. So what do you suggest? If you want to start the business, what do you suggest?
See, everything ends with, how comfortable you are, and what is the margins you are making on the business. End of the day, business is to make money over here.
Right,
So whether it is samosa or whether it is wheat, whether it is rice, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's upon the genuineness of the buyer over there. Now, what I can suggest here is, say, for freshers or the startups, the ideal way to just penetrate in the market is to how you first study the industry. If you say for it, have decided your product, so there are various exhibitions happening, there are various trade fairs being happening, there are different websites which are available to trace new buyers over here. And even from our government of India, the ECGC coverage, which gives you the guaranteed remittances confirmations, So if you have, say, from the trade fair or from the exhibitions, have identified a buyer over here, and you have decided to give him a container. So take out all his details, share it with ECGC coverage, and they will confirm to you whether this is a genuine buyer or not. If he's a blacklisted buyer, if he's a defaulter payment buyer. So these authorities, they generally confirms, that this buyer is a genuine buyer, and you can handle trade in those line alignments, that way. So ultimately, product specification again goes on what's the knowledge you possess over here. If you do not have knowledge about, say, the shell life of the products or the quality of the products, maintaining the products, then just by trading, you are risking somewhere yourself, So the characteristics of the nature of the cargo. So all these things play a very important role. Now, for a grapes exporter, a farmer, he knows that grapes product so very well that he knows from day one how much care he has taken, how much care he has gone under through, right until the produce is ready and it is completely ready to ship into the container. So in these circumstances, tomorrow, if there is a genuine case where somebody comes and tells him, your product is of inferior quality, they are not good in quality, so he can challenge that, why are you what is your complaint on inferior quality? I mean, what are the parameters you are saying that? So because he knows that product. So it's all about the technical know-how also on the products when you want to enter into what sort of trade and what sort of products. Yeah.
Or gradually we have to make our own brand, so that you can directly connect with that mall, or if you directly connect with the mall, then
yes,
that this problem will not arise, and we can
yes,
supply as per their requirement, or setting up the own warehousing.
Even I think from the DGFT websites also, you get a lot of data where you can know as to what country is importing, what ratio produce is going to those countries. From the DGFT website, you can get statistics as to Dubai is importing so much of bananas, Dubai is importing so much percentage of grapes, they are so much of onions, Europe, even any country. I mean, all these statistics are available on DGFT websites also.
Right. Anybody's having any questions, you can put it in chat box, or I will also allow you to talk on this webinar. Anybody's having any questions, you can put it in chat box, or if you want to talk directly with the speaker, I can also give access to you. Anybody? You can put it in chat box. Rohan has asked onion export based country. Onion export based country has asked. I think you already answered.
Middle East and Far East are two major countries which onions are mainly exported to.
Right. Anybody is having any questions, you can ask, because many have asked me about the agriculture, how to export, because that is very little bit complicated process. And can you please allow me? Okay. Anybody ask? As an exporter, how can we connect with the farmers directly without having middlemen? Shubham has asked the questions. So how can we connect with the farmers directly?
See, normally what happens is, Mr. Shubham, when you want to, say, for example, you have an order in hand for exports of onions to Dubai. So you do not know as to where I can source this. So normally now when we are dealing with so many exporters over here, we know that there are exporters who are manufacturers also, who exporters, there are who is a trader also, and who does onions in huge quantities. Huge quantity meaning every day he stuffs around more than 25-30 containers. every day he has a capacity of supplying 2 rails of 2 racks completely rails being sent to maybe the northeast or maybe the northern part of India. So there are these sort of exporters available who you can source them from. There are small time traders also, but when you go to the big exporters, you will have the price, you will have the quality also, and you will have the services also. So this has to be identified. I mean, you will not get this as a ready reckoner from anywhere. But when you start moving into the locations, maybe Nasik is a big belt for all these onions. So in Nasik, in Pimpalgaon, maybe Umrana and all these destinations, you have good exporters where you get access to, and you can connect them for your sourcing.
Okay. One last question. Currently, Dubai has signed agreement, CPA agreement with India.
Yeah.
So, is there any specific duty benefit is given for the agriculture products? Do you have any idea? Have you gone through it?
See, these agreements are basically when you are exporting it to Dubai, the importer in Dubai gets the benefit of the duty.
Right, right. So, what is anything regarding agriculture, specific to agriculture?
No, the guidelines are still not yet been opened by the government. It's only the agreement which has signed. It is just, I think, 15-20 days back we have come from there, and the agreement was signed when we were there between government of India and UAE.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that will be, I think, but from 1st of April that they have started implementing that CPA agreement.
Yeah.
Anshul has asked one more question, sir. Any agency agriculture may rice or wheat is good or bad? How we define? I think ECC you already answered. No?
Yeah, yeah.
Anshul, ECC is there. We can connect to the ECC. I think you are not. Hope you have done the export import course. ACC is there where you can go and ask them whether that buyer is genuine or not. They will give the information on that. What we cannot, why we cannot export mangoes nowadays? What's the matter? I want to export mangoes, but freight is closed for mangoes.
No, freights are open now. Freights are available for mangoes, and if you want any freight costings or anything, you can connect with me. I will share.
Sir, you can put your contact number in chat box, or you can also share on the this, because it is also recorded on the YouTube. Yeah. You can share the your number, or you can also chat box. So anybody will connect you.
Yeah.
His number is whoever is in on YouTube. Datta Shinde's number is 9321 473100. I'll repeat, 9321 473100. Please WhatsApp him. Do not directly call. Then he will respond to you. And email ID is.
Yeah, I'll share the email ID also.
And his email ID is datta.shinde@globalbm.com. datta.shinda@globalbm.com. You can contact him regarding agriculture export if you have any query. Also, he will also register himself on our 24-mile digital platform. So you can also send the inquiry, freight inquiry, through the 24-mile digital platform. Tomorrow he will do the registration on our 24-mile digital platform, where we have automated all export import process and documentations. So thank you very much all, and thank you very much Datta sir for giving your valuable time and accepting our invitations. And it is really practical sessions, I can say, not only informative, practical sessions which can encourage to new exporters who can start the export, and also they can also connect you for further guidance if they have any query. Also, you can connect with our 24-mile digital platform. So thank you very much, Datta sir.
Thank you, and it was pleasure talking to you, sir. And anything on a logistics platform, if you need any guidance, support, I'll be ready to help and assist you. Yes, thank you, and thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Namaste.
Yeah, namaste.
Bye-bye.